Medical disclaimer. Please note that the information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health regimen, including starting new therapies, supplements, or treatments. While we discuss cutting-edge research and advancements in cellular medicine, individual health needs vary and professional guidance is essential. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that neither Dr. Seeds nor the podcast team is providing personalized medical recommendations.
On today's episode of Redox Revolution, don't buy your peptides from China. Welcome to another episode of Redox Revolution with not the infamous, but the famous Matthew and Maddie.
Wow. I think infamous might be better than famous.
I think you're famous now.
Yeah. Good.
I think there's fame involved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll go back to infamous.
You could be famous.
No.
Yeah, that's for you. I'd rather be the man behind the curtain.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take all the hits.
You know what's not behind the curtain anymore?
Who?
Whoa, what?
Peptides.
No, they are out and about.
They're out and about, and who would have ever thought it would be where it is
Do you have
today?
like a tummy ache?
No, I'm just like, come on.
We today we're going to discuss that New York Times article from last month. The Chinese peptides are the latest biohacking trend in the tech world. The gray market drugs flooding Silicon Valley reveal a community that believes it can move faster than the FDA.
Wow.
What a
title.
What a line.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So many buzzwords in there.
Basically, it highlights the dangers of research peptides and other low-grade products, and you're probably pretty tired of hearing about this kind of thing. But hey, I mean, at least if there is an article talking about peptide use, I'm glad it's differentiating the sourcing of peptides. Yeah. I'm glad that is now becoming a thread that can be distinguished. That tells me the conversation is a little bit more informed and moving forward. And it's interesting watching the trend of peptides be put into kind of the same dynamism that's been used to scale software. In a way, that same risk tolerance, that same we're not going to wait, we're going to break the rules, and we're going to let the rest of everything be built around us. I don't really think it applies here.
No, because it's your health. Literally, you're putting it into your body. Can't take it out once you already put it in. It's in.
Yeah, this is a trigger for me for sure.
Same.
I better make the disclaimer here, especially with Silicon Valley, they can be so reactionary and very. I want to set my record straight right now. I am pro-science. I'm not anti-innovation. I'm pro-biology. I'm not anti-technology. And I'm pro-patient. I'm not anti-market. So I want to get that clear as to how when I make my statements here. It's all about protecting people, and it has... I know Silicon Valley has their own rules, and I know how they work fast and they move, and it's all about speed. But sorry, biology doesn't work on a clock like that. And in particular, with what you just talked about sourcing, which should be very concerning to everyone. Because we've known about this and we've tried so hard to educate our patients and our physicians and healthcare providers that sourcing of biologics, these biological peptides are signaling agents. They're not supplements. They're They're true. They have effects on the cell that if this process of synthesizing peptides can't be regulated, or you have problems in validating or verifying purification, I think there is recklessness there in then taking something and introducing that into your body that has significant consequences that may not even be realized today, but definitely will in 3, 4, 5, 10 years. We've talked about this from many sides, and I just
and some people did get the consequences right away from
correct
using those peptides, but yeah.
Well, we see it in our practice. Unfortunately, we see all those problems where people have made very poor decisions, and there's a reason that we have a system here to protect ourselves, the FDA. We have a process of looking at for GMP processes and products. We want to know what toxicities are. We want to know what the purity is. We want to know what the contaminants are. We want to be able to third-party validate through spectroscopy, through HPLSs, the high processing liquid chromatology to validate what we're using. We want to know the pharmacokinetics. I mean, all of these things people don't understand are crucial to these peptides that they're injecting into their bodies.
Well, kind of similar to AI, there's a little bit of pattern recognition going on and trying to extrapolate things. I mean, the article quoted one of the OpenAI researchers is saying that nasal oxytocin is, quote, Ozempic for autism.
Say that again?
An OpenAI researcher was saying that nasal oxytocin is, quote, Ozempic for autism.
That's just that
bold.
That's
dangerous.
That's scientifically illiterate, and that's ethically reckless. I mean, really?
Because now parents are going to go get oxytocin online because they hear that.
Here's somebody who has some influence that's totally out of their league. I mean, let's just talk about that really quickly. I mean,
50-50, it works.
GLP-1s are GLP-1 peptides are well studied. They're metabolic peptides with predictable peripheral metabolic mechanisms. Oxytocin and autism is a neurodevelopmental problem that demands incredible knowledge in how different influences can lead to autism, which we know, which are multiple and significant. And oxytocin is a modulator. It can be a neuromodulator that also depends on sex. It depends on neurodevelopment. It depends on age. It depends on environment. I mean, it's like you can't even make that. You can't take a peptide and make an assumption. I mean, that's just crazy. That gets me. That really is. That's just so wrong. I don't know how to say it any better than what I said. I guess it's a.
And if there's a response out there that's like, well, Dr. Seeds, you've been using and prescribing peptides for how many years now? I think the important differentiator is to say you've been sourcing them historically through 503A compounding pharmacies. It requires a doctor to write a prescription. It requires a doctor to be, involved with the patient's care. And 503As are registered with and regulated by
the
FDA.
And we also go above and beyond of requiring we want to know about the facilities. We want to know about the third-party testing.
Yeah.
Which the online sources have gotten
Oh, they
smart
started
and
putting all those buzzwords
Yeah.
in. You know,
And-
they're like, "Oh, we got the certificate of analysis.
Which is
We're
bullshit.
in a GMP facility."
which is bullshit.
I mean, it's kind of a shame that at this point,
They're marketing. They shouldn't be marketing. I mean,
I know.
this is like that direct marketing on TV, which is bullshit. But this is worse. They're marketing phrases and gosh, we just looked at.
Yeah, we did just look at a pharmacy yesterday.
We looked at a 50. Somebody had sent in this
503B.
thing
they-
about a 503B.
they had bought a 503B license or something.
Yeah, and we went back through it and looked at how they.
The website basically still had the lorem ipsum
Yeah.
and the FAQs.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
"Are you kidding? What a more fake site can you have and fake bullshit?" I mean, it's so. This is where social media moves so fast. I mean, Silicon Valley moves fast. Social media moves faster, but biology doesn't move that fast, and education and understanding doesn't move that fast.
Well, and I'm not saying whether I agree with this or whether it's a good or a bad thing, but the reality of the situation is, by and large, the FDA moves in swift swings. It doesn't really apply a bunch of tiny nuances to one situation. It says, this is it, and this is what we're doing. And I feel like in large part because of this influx of Chinese peptides, I mean, the FDA basically has these warnings now and is trying to impose these rules of saying a lot of these peptides pose serious safety risks because of, and they cite potential impurities and immune reactions. And the unfortunate part of that is, if you're sourcing correctly, not only are those impurities not there, but it's not that immune reactions are out of the question. It's that you're working with a doctor who can help you or who can help guide you through those situations. So it's kind of unfortunate that personal use is legal and that most doctors are having to advise against peptides entirely just to kind of block that safety risk.
The FDA restrictions just made, I feel like, the online sources thrive.
More valuable,
where the ones who are doing it right,
Well, it doesn't
our
help
patients
either.
suffer.
It doesn't help either when doctors are out there
Recommending
pushing these,
them.
just pushing research stuff. I mean, there was the incident the other year of those two women getting those reactions at that one
Oh, yeah. Vegas
one-
conference.
that one Vegas conference
yeah.
where two women went to the hospital because the doctor was there injecting them with research peptides.
I mean, that's common sense. I mean, come on, who does that?
But it gives the whole industry a black
rap.
eye
Yeah.
because everyone just sees peptide, which again is why I'm very thankful the research article is Chinese peptides.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And like, I'm very exhausted of having patients come, well, I can get this peptide. It's like, well, it's not a real peptide. Well, I can get it. And
So a few episodes ago, I mean, we discussed your research study, right? And the importance of clinical and human trials. What do you think it's going to take to get a lot of this human research funded?
It's going to be hard. It's going to take government involvement. It's going to take philanthropy. It's going to take individual philanthropy. It's going to be a combination also of big pharma, possibly everybody contributing to the same to the same mission of helping us do something that is desperately needed, and that's evidence-based research to validate indications. But it's going to take the government. It's going to take the government to step up to maybe take a stance in wanting to validate this whole space, to put their stamp behind the right resources, the right checks and balances of these pharmacies in a way that is a higher standard. And we actually we actually know that may be potentially in the works, and maybe that'll be something we can discuss later as that, if that comes to be a real process. But that's what it's going to take. We need to have rigorous standards and not policing, but I think more education for these higher standards and what's available for patients to make more informed decisions.
Go ahead.
I also feel like medicine almost needs to change in general as well and want to become more preventative instead of reactive. I feel like that whole framework needs to shift for this to even get the attention as well.
Yeah, and that's going to be a difficult place because of the incentives that are there and money that we can't control. And I mean the money aspect is so interesting when we look at costs and a validated safe peptide is expensive. And it only is because there are small numbers of it being made and there are mass numbers of people that want them, but it can't be made in mass production because we're just not in that space yet. Where it could be pennies on the dollar, it's not there yet. And to do it right and do it better, it's expensive. And I think people are looking for that when they see that cost and say, "Oh, I could do it for this." It dilutes the discussion, and it puts a veil around where they lose that credibility thought.
I do want to set a cost spectrum though, because what you're calling expensive really is only about 1/3 of the sliding scale. Like getting a responsibly compounded peptide from a compounding pharmacy, let's just call it a couple $100. That's still not nearly the cost of what some of these commercially protected versions like the Ozempics and Wegovy's that are above $1,000 are. Sure. I think people are conflating two numbers and they're like, oh, getting the commercial one is going to break the bank and I need government assistance to do it, or I can just get the $50 Chinese version. And it's like, no, this middle one does exist, and this middle one could get cheaper at scale if it got more focus, but it's getting hit and squeezed from both ends.
Correct.
Yeah, very true.
And I feel like the dangers themselves also start to compound because, I mean, you read more into this article and just a couple other quotes I want to pull from it. Online advertising of unauthorized peptide formulations grew nearly 8-fold from 2022 to 2024, and that's from research from LegalScript themselves. And then have you heard of these peptide mixing parties in like places like San Francisco? No. Just people getting together where they all bring their unconstituted powders, and they learn how to reconstitute them together. And just like, it's called a peptide party. You see some images in here of like peptide raves where they're all wearing neon and they have like a DJ there. And
have we lost our minds?
Why weren't we invited? Why weren't we invited?
Have we lost our minds here? Where is this? Wow, I feel like we're not doing a good job then in what we're trying to do to educate not just the physicians but the consumers about very serious implications in their health, where they believe they're doing something healthy and they're creating potentially catastrophic problems.
Well, and to play a little bit of devil's advocate, right? There are multiple examples in here of people who are doing this, ordering Chinese peptides, and seeing the results they're looking for, whether it's one of these women microdosing GLP-1s in a way that you guys recommend to many patients, and she's seeing the benefits she's looking for, people looking to wean themselves off of alcohol or gambling addictions by microdosing GLP-1s. Some people doing some BPC injections or GHK-Cu injections that are coming over from China for a litany of different applications, and they're seeing good results. I think all of our points is, one, when you're getting these unregulated peptides, it honestly
it's a gamble.
It might work sometimes, and it will probably work most of the time, but you're playing a very low odds Russian roulette, and you really want to be.
You're playing a biological roulette.
Oh, there it is.
And number two, if you're experimenting on your own body, you don't have a doctor who's able to help you out of an issue if you get into it. And then number three, and this is at least something I've tried to get thinking on, but I want your guys' opinion on it. A lot of the protocols that you guys put people on are very beneficial, yet you implement cycling off. And I feel like when people are self-performing these protocols, they don't know a lot of those patterns. They don't know when to cycle off. They don't know when to take breaks. And even if they are seeing good things, again, there's nuance to this.
Well, it just depends on what's being used. But I think a bigger, here's the answer to, let me give you the answer that many people are not understanding about the use of these peptides. So a peptide, when we talk about purity, it can have there are amino acids that are connected by peptide bonds. And that amino acid strand is to some degree fragile. And when you inject that in the body, their fragments are cleaved at certain areas, they break off. Well, depending on the peptide. And if you have an impure peptide that is not appropriately, it's not 99.9% what it's supposed to be or close, that means that peptide, you could still have an active fragment that may produce some of those results to make a peptide feel like it's working. And then you've got a fragment that's biologically active that you have no idea what it's doing in your body. And this is where the problem lies, because we're not going to see the sequelae of this terrible problem for 2, 5, 10 years, maybe 15 years from now. That's just like what? Alzheimer's. It's how these things can work over time where you don't see it immediately. You think something's happening, but then you get this other fragment that's doing some
knows what?
Yeah, some serious problems. Oh my God, people need to wake up, because unfortunately we see these people who have done those things over years. Because this isn't something new, it's just bigger now. It's horrible. It's an absolute problem.
You know what it reminds me a little of? Every time I think of these unregulated injections and people just sticking themselves with something that they got online, it makes me think a lot of the initial behind the curtain aspects of like the bodybuilding industry. How, like, yes, a lot of these back alley injections of these steroids that some dude would just have in the trunk of his car have gotten a lot of people very big. It's not that people have not seen the body growth results that they wanted with these steroids. It's that every now and then you would see this news article of so-and-so bodybuilder, age 42, drops dead. And no one likes seeing that stuff. But when you're putting this is what made me think of this, is you talking about these biological agents and these fragments that are just floating around and you don't know what they're doing. I mean, that's the roulette you're playing.
Absolutely.
And not even with like just the research peptides in general, but the peptides that are all mixed in one combination.
That's
like,
even.
yes, you can mix some peptides, but majority of them, the glow stack.
So how do we responsibly educate physicians and patients about peptide therapy?
I think with what we've been doing already from the get-go, I mean, it started day one. I started teaching people about peptides. Nothing's changed as far as focusing on the safety and then talking about the efficacy, talking about understanding what we're trying to provide, but that it has to come from the sourcing is everything. And that's why when this first started, we were we were fortunate to be in a place of, or I was fortunate to be in the early steps of how I could help these beginning pharmacies produce and follow the right guidelines in making these peptides and do it safe and follow the third-party testing that needed to be done. So we've done that, and we started that process. And then we saw very quickly how the market started changing with this introduction of these. The Chinese peptides have been around for a while, and
of course, yeah.
And how they started getting into this market space and trying to manipulate other pharmacies by saying, "Hey, we've got the same GMP product. Hey, take our," and also bypassing that and going right to physicians or healthcare providers, and it was a profit issue day one. It's all about cost and how can I do this? It came down to, unfortunately, greed, costs, that kind of thing. And so you had your responsible providers and you had a lot of people that broke the rules.
And for providers who might be like new to peptides and still learning, these groups that are coming to them, they're very convincing, like, oh, we're 503A and 503B certified. So for a provider who doesn't know and is still learning, I mean, it's on the group at that point because they're learning all the right words to say.
That's very true. And we're trying to educate the physicians and healthcare providers to ask the right questions of, hey, let me see your third-party verification. Let me see show me this is a GMP product here made in the U.S. or we've given those guidelines. We've helped people understand that, and I think that's where we're also flourishing in that education side of making this responsible. Because the providers have to ask those questions because the other thing that they don't realize is that
it's their license.
The legal part of this is catching up, and providers are losing their licenses because they're providing care with unauthorized peptides and
that's one of the biggest shames is when we get an email at the SSRP, they're trying to reach out to you or just reach out to the institute as a whole saying like, hey, I'm being sued by my patient because they had a really bad reaction to, say, like BPC. And they're like, and I know BPC is great, and can you help me out with my defense, and can you send me papers? And the first question is,
what was your sourcing?
Where did you get it? And when they show that they prescribed a peptide from a research use only where it says not fit for human use, it's like we can't do anything.
Indefensible.
Indefensible.
Think that could be like the performance protocol. Anything that says not intended for human use, research
not
only,
intended for human use.
It's not intended for human use. Don't inject it.
Yeah.
And look on the websites.
It's a very thinly veiled disclaimer that is just meant to protect these shells. Yeah,
it's a very tough discussion right now.
Because those websites that say third-party verified, 99.9% purity, scroll to the bottom, and that's where it says, these products aren't for human use. This is research use only. That protects them, but...
Yeah.
Not for long.
Hopefully.
Not for long. Great discussion. I don't think we need to belate this any further.
I think it got us all fired up. So
yeah, it's just it's going to be a constant battle for a while. But I think education is going to win over. I think authority is going to win over. I think ethics are going to win over here. And hopefully we're going to be at the forefront of that and helping everyone get to this next step in where we make cellular medicine more powerful for the patient. So thanks, Matthew and Maddie, for another really good episode. And we'll see you later on Redox Revolution.